Hi, everybody. This is Chris,
This is Matt.
and this is Wolfenstein 3D. What is this not, Matt?
This is not a review.
This is not a review.
Although we did in one of the Deathlord streams, we got a lot of shit for our continual insistence that this is not a review, and a lot of people think that it is just based on how we're doing things.
I can see why. But I feel like a review requires a certain degree of professionalism, for lack of a better word. Like, you're going to cover everything, and you're going to make sure you cover it. And it would be entirely possible on one of our shows to just basically pull up a cover image and go, neither of us played it, but we saw the title screen, and we're going to just rip on that for an hour because...
Right. Right. We don't want the accountability of calling it a review, basically.
No.
That's the short version.
If it's one thing you should know about us, we don't want to take responsibility for anything, including the stuff we do.
Yeah. I mean, of course not.
Yeah. There's no rigorous standards. There's no
standards at all, really.
No, very few standards. It's two assholes with an opinion.
Yep.
Not always the same opinion.
But often the same.
Often the same.
I get the sense we're going to have a similar opinion on Wolfenstein 3D, for example.
Maybe. I'm not 100% on that, but I think we'll at least be near each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, there's no script. There's no length of time. We play the game for a month, or in case of our short games, a day or two, maybe 3. Get a little feel for it, come back, and then just talk about what our experience was. I think there's lots of things that we'll talk about, reviews that we'll cover, like this is the control scheme, this is the history of it, and we'll touch on that. But if you want something more polished, that's not this. If you want to know what it's like for someone to play it today, that's what this is.
Yeah, this was 1992. This is id's second major deal, or second deal, really. Like they did Commander Keen, and then they did this in 1992.
Yep.
And this was... It's not often that you can say a game changed my life, but Wolfenstein did change my life, because the first time I played it at a friend's house, I went home, I told my parents, and by the end of that day, we had purchased our first PC computer, and then here I am, 30x years later, with an IT career and a bustling YouTube channel, and,
What's your YouTube channel? Tell our viewers so they can go there.
Yeah. So, a big deal for me, Wolfenstein, and we're playing it like a short game, but I just want to go into it with that said, because, I mean, this is a formative PC game,
yeah,
and for the whole industry too. Like, this is the first real first-person shooter.
This is the first PC game I bought, and I know that because I bought it before I owned a PC.
Wow.
I bought it to play at my friend's house when I went over to visit over the summer during college. And just... Because I was walking by and I'd watched this play demos on things like Radio Shack and, small mom-and-pop computer stores and stuff like that. They'd throw this in and basically started playing. So I want to talk about this in a second. But yeah, they'd... And I'm like, well, $5 for the shareware version.
Right, shareware.
Done. I'm going to get this, and I'm going to, I don't have a PC yet, but I know people who do. So I played the hell out of this. Until Doom.
Yeah, until Doom. Right. Yeah, and waiting for Doom to come out after playing this was an intense period of my young life, too.
One of the things I wanted to say about this before we get started, let's see if I can channel my German class. Das tut mir leid, Deutschland. Wir werden gleich Wir werden gleich gebannt. We're probably going to get banned in Germany.
Yeah. Maybe we will.
Werden gleich gebannt.
There's something romantic, though, about being banned in a whole country. Like, I think
So, and why I'm kind of bringing that up is I'm not sure anymore, because in 2018 they did start to ease back on it. You can, as long as it's not being shown in sort of a positive light, the images that will eventually appear on your screen are allowed to appear on your screen.
Yeah.
But
what do we got here?
So this is when you start the game up, even today, you get this.
That is no doubt bytes of available memory.
That is bytes of available memory. And notice, they didn't expect you to have all of it.
No. You were like a top tier kid if you had 1,000 bytes of EMS available. EMS? Holy shit.
Holy, yeah.
That's like if you got 4 mega memory, maybe you could get 1,000 bytes of EMS free.
No, you had to fight with your config files to really make all those memory things.
Yeah.
But you never really had it.
No, you didn't know what you were doing. I didn't.
But I think it's funny that it comes right into a settings screen. It's just so different from a Windows experience. And like what sound cards do you have attached? Do you have a joystick even attached or existing? Do you have a mouse? Maybe you don't.
Right.
And there's a question as I hit play on this bad boy. What controls did you play with? Because keyboard, mouse, and keyboard and joystick were all options.
Yeah, so when I initially played this, I played with keyboard only when I was a kid. And when I came back to it, the manual says if you're a pro, you'll use the mouse. But there's no mouse look. Like you're never looking with it. So I did end up using keyboard and mouse to play this. And I spent a lot of time dinking around with the config, and I finally found what I thought worked.
Okay. I was going to say, because I tried playing with the mouse, and fuck that.
Well, I think the way I approached it was not to think of the mouse as a controller, but rather to think of the mouse as a couple of buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Because, there is no strafe. The strafe is toggled with a key.
Yeah.
So you're always turning, whether you're using the mouse or the keyboard. So I just drove completely with the keyboard and then used the mouse button to shoot and to strafe. And space to open doors, and then WASD. And the rest is history.
You had to reconfigure for WASD and you still didn't go to ESDF. I'm ashamed of you.
No.
Even with that, like I thought the mouse was the worst control scheme. Like I had the same experience where basically I would use it to turn and then my 2 buttons. But I don't know. I didn't
really use it to turn.
You didn't even use it to turn.
I didn't move the mouse at all. I just plopped my stupid hand on it and then just used the buttons.
I like that you could rechange the size of the screen. Because
yeah, totally.
You could do that back then. For people who are wondering, why would you want to shrink your screen size? If your computer was slow enough, and my starting ones were, you shrunk the screen down so that it would perform better.
Right. It was quite taxing just because of how it's designed.
Yeah.
The technology to do this 3D. I mean, it's not really 3D.
Right.
And there's tons of YouTube videos about how that works, but I think the most obvious artifact of the fact that it's not true 3D is that horrible ceiling with no texture. Mm-hmm. It's just like an abyss that goes on forever. that you're just kind of floating in. Like the floor's got some nice reflections and
Yeah, there's stuff on the floor. There's occasionally a lamp on the ceiling, though.
Yeah, but there's no lighting. There's no gradient ever. It's just a flat abyss. And you don't really feel that so much with the floor, but definitely the ceiling.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on.
I think it was just a different color on the ceiling would have made it maybe feel a little less floaty. I don't know what that color would have been, but something brighter. Because it's so dark, it feels behind everything, and that's a problem. We should, kind of comment that this is, you've probably heard the history of this before, where this is a follow-up to the Castle Wolfenstein from Apple II days, and basically the name, the trademarking of it fell off.
Yeah.
It just fell away, and so when they went to get the rights, they're like, no one has them. We can just, instead of this being an homage, we can just make it a follow-up and be good.
Wolfenstein 3D, and like it has kind of a similar feel. Like it's mazy. There's not really any stealth elements. You can kind of, I don't know.
I was gonna say
it's a stretch.
It's a bit of a stretch, but so was it with the first one too.
Right.
I will say, and you'll see in here, there's one time where I get to sneak up behind some guards. There's other times where, like, I'll fire at a door to get them to all come through the door.
Right.
So that's actually sort of anti-stealth, where you're making noise to draw them, but the game does try to take into account that the enemies are going to pay attention and come near where you are, which, again, for being this early in the FPS genre, I don't know. I'm really, really impressed by that.
You can kind of manage the bad guys. Like you can, like you said, lure them in. Sometimes you sneak up on them. Oftentimes they sneak up on you, which leads to some pretty great kind of jump scare moments that I really enjoyed when they happened. It was. I had a good time replaying it. Oh, look at you!
Look at me secret it up. Yeah, I know the first level.
Yeah,
that actually was a problem for me coming back to this. It took me, I want to say, like 4 or 5 sit down to play this before I'm like, oh yeah, there's a save game. If I want to get any distance in this, I should be saving my game every level so that I don't have to do the first level over every time I sit down again.
Right. Where are you?
I'm in the secret level off the first level.
Oh, I forgot about this. Wow.
No.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just distracted.
It's okay. This was me playing real quick this morning, and I had to find this again because it was just driving me nuts. I'm like, it's telling me I didn't have 100% secrets. I know where all the secrets are, so I went through and found them all. Oh yeah, there they are. Yeah, this thing.
Which is an interesting kind of thing about this game. So there's treasure, there's kills, and there's secrets.
And there's lives.
And there's lives for no reason, because there's saves. Like, that doesn't make any sense, but...
Yeah.
Whatever.
The only use I've seen for lives is the high scoreboard. Like, if you play this like an arcade game, and you use up all your lives, your score will go on that high scoreboard. But did you ever play it for score?
No. And honestly, like, coming back to this as an adult...
Here's me sneaking up. If I I could have killed all those guys, but... Coming back to this as an adult.
Coming back to this as an adult, I have developed a lot of completionist tendencies, and I don't play it like a 12-year-old. anymore. But I found today when I was playing it before we started talking, if when I kind of got back in touch with that 12-year-old me and didn't worry about the secrets and the treasure, I had a lot more fun because hunting down those secrets is a miserable experience, really, because some of them are telegraphed, but a lot of them aren't, and you just have to walk along the walls, clicking around, and I did not have fun doing that. So I kind of decided today when I was getting through it, like, I'm not going to do that anymore, and it was way more fun.
Yep.
And like same with treasure. Like the best thing about the treasure is hearing the treasure noise when you pick it up. I love the sound effects in this game in general, and the treasure is no exception.
Yeah, the sound effects are good. The voices are, I think, what make this game.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a big deal now, but man, hearing those dudes talk to you in 1992, it's like, oh,
nothing like
so awesome. Like, you got to get a sound card.
Yeah.
And like, you can't really understand them. I think one guy sounds like they say stroop waffles at you, and
no, killing the SS guy and hearing "Mein Lieber."
Yeah, right. Or I remember like killing Hitler, and he says "Ivan Wiedersehen," and he like melts into that pool of blood. Good stuff.
Here's my favorite guys.
Yeah, I love the zombie guys, and they like shoot with their arms.
Chopped thing with a gun in their chest. Yeah, like
so creative.
This is the moment, though. You get that gun. Even your guy down on the bottom gets that big shit-eating grin.
Oh yeah. Yeah, getting new stuff and finding it, like even finding a new wall texture in this game is exciting. It's like, oh, bricks! Like, this is awesome.
There's mold on this. What does that mean?
Yeah, this is fantastic. But yeah, when you see a new bad guy and hear him make a different noise and he's got like a cooler gun, you definitely feel things.
You do, and I'm surprised how few things there were. Like, I wrote this in the notes. There's soldiers, SS officers, dogs, mutants, Shabs, and Hitler. That's it.
Yeah.
All the types of bad guys there are.
Yeah.
Not that that's not enough, but
yeah, it's paced really well from like from a game design standpoint. So like you feel like you're finding new things all the time, and it doesn't get terribly samey. It gets a little redundant, but
I will say, I mean, it doesn't get terribly samey. There's enough variation, and the game's sized enough that it doesn't. There's a little burnout by the time you're done, but not so much like some games that completely overstay their welcome.
Right.
What I will say is, with exception of like the first level, episode 1, level 1, if you go look at the maps, I don't know that many will blow you away in their originality or conform in any way to modern design standards for game design or good game design. A lot of them are just big, square, fit everything we can in our area to give you as much room to run around and shoot guys in, which is fine and fun.
Right.
But there's some backtracking that's necessary. There's stuff behind secrets that's necessary. There's things that, modern sensibilities would tell you don't do.
Yeah.
The first level, if you run straight ahead, if you just keep running straight and turn where you have to turn, it guides you to the exit. The other ones do not. The other ones, you've got to explore this spaghetti plate to try and find the other end.
Yeah, which is interesting because my memories of playing this are memories of gunning down Nazis and badassery. But coming back, my experience was largely wandering around an empty level, trying to find the one damn door that I missed.
Mm-hmm.
And that is interesting. Like, because it's a big maze, and you'll probably kill all the guys in some of these levels.
Yeah.
Because there's 100 doors, and only one of them is the one you need. And you're right, it's not linear. So that was probably my biggest surprise coming back to it, was how much time I spent not shooting people.
Right. And so that's one of my things. Like, I'm not a fan of the corridor shooter. I'm not a fan of you are going to walk down this hall and shoot things, and there might be little closets you step in to get stuff if you find them. I don't find that fun. But there is something to be said for, I'm not walking through an empty house with nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know what the alternative is rather than backspawn.
Right. I mean, I think that's just the game. Like the game is, it's such a weird tone to this game. Like, that's one thing too that I couldn't quite pin down, and because you have this like kind of lighthearted, super gratuitous, for the time shooter, but it's like Nazi stuff everywhere, and like you eat dog food, and there's like bones and cages, but it's so bright and so like, and then there's like the kill cam, and then so I was trying to pin down what it was while I was playing it. I was like really thinking about it, and what I settled on was like, oh, it's the tone of Wolfenstein. Like nothing else is like this. There's no other box you can put this in,
It's brightly colored, joyous Nazi killing.
Yeah.
It's with no like it celebrates it. It's shiny and bright and happy, but it is still just have fun killing Nazis.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they put you in the Nazi like castle or dungeon or whatever, and so like you can see there's Hitler stuff everywhere, and it makes you feel like an outsider in this place, and like like you've got to be careful, and it's I mean, it's not scary, but it does amp up the intensity level because it feels like you shouldn't be there the whole time you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that was necessarily the case as much in 1992, because I think if you went back and said, should you guys be doing this thing with all this Nazi stuff? They would have said, well, we really want to.
Well, and I think it's a matter of, like, they're definitely staged as the bad guys. I remember this, going down a different road right now. It was one of the arguments I heard about Dungeons and Dragons back in the day. Like, oh, it's demonic, there's demons and devils. I'm like, yeah, but you're killing them. Like, isn't that what you want us to do? Why are you mad about us fighting evil? I don't understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure it would fly today. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And like, I don't have any moral judgments on Wolfenstein for sure. I just think it's interesting. Just I find the tone of it very, very interesting.
Yeah. Well, that it's heavily evil with Saturday morning cartoon colors. Like,
right.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the.
And like you got BJ's face, which by the way, like I think there's not much of a UI here, but I think what UI there is fantastic, because that little bar tells you everything you need to know, and it does it very effectively because you can just glance down at your face. And also, like, as an early first-person shooter, I think it was kind of important to have your character's face in it.
Yes.
So you like can connect with your character a little bit. Now we don't have any problem with that.
No, but back then, that was one of the things this game had to do too. Is it had to teach us how to enjoy first-person shooters,
right?
And I think that's part of why it worked better than other games like Ultima Underworld, which I just want to check something.
Oh man, are we going to go down an Ultima rabbit hole and alienate that whole community?
Oh, probably.
With your Underworld thing?
Well, I mean, the thing that most people are quick to point out is Ultima Underworld came out first.
Yeah.
But, I mean, have you played... You've played Underworld.
Yeah, I got Ultima...
There's
I got
up and down. Out. There's looking around. Right. Same year. But... you never felt badass.
Yeah.
You know, that's what this game taps into, that, you know, high speed, primal, something we can all relate to. Like, at the time, you got to remember how nerdy Dungeons and Dragons was. Playing this did not feel nerdy. Playing a dungeon game felt nerdy. This helped make video games feel a little less nerdy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, you could bring the cool kid from school over, which is really kind of what my friend did with me. Brought the cool kid from school over, show him Wolfenstein, and they'll be like, oh, awesome. Like,
and you know, you guys built a friendship. Years later, played Rise of the Triad. It was awesome for you.
You have never been more hurt by anything in our friendship than me playing Rise of the Triad with someone who wasn't you in like 1998 or 1999. I'm sorry.
We even met by then. Like, it was probably before we met.
But yeah, we should find a way to make that happen.
Yeah, we absolutely have to.
I haven't played it. Like that was another. Were there Nazis in Rise of the Triad? Or they were like kind of Nazis. They were the Triad,
they were
right?
Nazi adjacent, yeah.
Right. They lived in the same cul-de-sac as the Nazis. They weren't.
They would have block parties. It was a thing.
But yeah, we gotta play that. That's got to be a thing. And I hope it's as much fun as I remember, but I doubt it.
Oh, I'm sure it's... So like this, like we were saying, there are moments of feeling absolutely awesome and cool and, you know, high action. And then a lot of what I'm doing now, which is, where was I supposed to be? How do I...
Right, suddenly all the dead Nazis are just like landmarks.
Yeah, that's where I shot this guy. Oh, here's a fresh guy, so I must need to go this way.
You know what would have fundamentally changed the Wolfenstein experience? If the doors stayed open. It would be a completely different game if the doors stayed open. I don't think it would stand up if the doors stayed open, because you'd always know where to go next. So much of this game is just wandering around.
I think it might make it better. Because, you what you're trying to do is get to the next action thing as fast as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you're trying to do is, I want to get to the next round of shooting Nazis.
And if you like, especially in the early levels, when you... There's like a lot of rooms, and they're like small rooms with a dog in it. And by the way, not relishing killing the dogs.
Nintendo agreed with you.
Yeah, they took the dogs out, didn't they?
Made them be rats. And then, you know... But they also had no blood in Mortal Kombat, so, you know.
Yeah, come on, Nintendo.
No, I think, like, I want to go back to the hotbar for a second, because...
Okay.
Like you were saying, it does everything it needs to do. And I think there's something... I also want to talk about how this game had to teach us how to enjoy first-person games. Mm-hmm. And did it in a way that basically nothing else had done. But I actually had a problem with one part of this, and that's the health. Like, you talk about... You mention a lot in games that it doesn't telegraph well. Did you get hit? Are you hitting? Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. Like, Like, if you just watched that and covered the bottom of the screen and watched that guy fight all those guys, you wouldn't know what your... Like, you would have no sense of, did I just take a big hit or a little hit? Or am I almost dead? Or what? And oftentimes I'd find myself looking down after getting through 3 or 4 gunfights and going, oh shit, I'm at 5%. Because there is nothing on the screen where you're looking to tell you you're hurt.
Right.
And you got to blame yourself to some extent because it is on the screen. But it needed to be better. It just...
Yeah, I think the portrait helped a ton with that because you can...
Glance.
You can connect with how messed up you are easier than just looking at a percentage. But yeah, it would be nice if there was something like in the screen, and like modern games have figured this out
like a
really
red
well.
tint usually.
Yeah.
Like after you get under 50, the screen just gets redder and redder until you can't see it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if they could have pulled red tint off on this. But maybe. And it's just something. A little bit more to let me know I'm in danger. Kind of like the open doors, I think would have helped the game. I think it would have made you feel a little more on edge a little more often because, oh man, I'm getting close. I need to think about this next fight. Because a lot of these fights are... if you're not going to play it like a game of gotcha, where you walk through and then somebody pops out of a closet behind you, goes, whoa, and shoots you.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating the laugh. That's what they do.
Right.
Then you have to be a little... Play your angles, be stealthy. Save ammo by stabbing the dogs.
Yeah, that's a pro move there.
Yeah.
I just shot the dogs.
I usually did too, but when I was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be stabbing the dogs.
That's a new sentence.
No one's ever said that before. You're welcome, universe. So yeah, I felt like there wasn't enough telegraph on that, and so it took away some of the tension that could have been interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think it ruins the game. It doesn't make it unfun. It just would have been nice. A little more telegraph there.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say, like, this game is heralded as, like, revolutionary. Like, this game changed everything. No one had thought of anything like this before. We've already talked about Ultima Underworld was before this. And I stand by my argument that this is wizardry where you unhook it from the squares.
Yeah.
Like, this game was inevitable. Was it inevitable in 1992? No. Carmack and Romero did amazing things with the tech. This shouldn't have been out yet.
Mm-hmm.
But this game, this style of something like this where you walk around a 3D dungeon and shoot guys, this is an inevitable piece of technology. Or an inevitable game design something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And really, like, arguably the tech in Ultima was better, like you said.
I think this did more, though, like, in addition to just the ability to move as fast and slide around and just the action-y part, like you were talking about with the guy's face and having something to associate with. I think the other thing, too, is people have a hard time associating with concepts that are entirely foreign to them.
Mm-hmm.
in the early 90s, late 80s, action war movies, games, things were not foreign to people.
True.
Like, I'm still told one of the best MMOs ever was Asheron's Call. One of the things it did, though, was it didn't want to use any sort of boxed RPG trope creatures. No dragons, no goblins, no orcs. And as it sort of, for me, and I like fantasy stuff, everything just felt like a word salad or a letter salad I couldn't connect to.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you've named this creature that is just a creature, this name, and I don't know, should I be scared of that? Should I be...
Right. You need to connect to some kind of cultural landmark, otherwise you're just like adrift.
Yeah. And this connected on two parts. First, everybody recognizing sort of the war theme, and a war with very distinct sides. Like there's a definite good guy, bad guy in this war. I lost it. There were two things it did a really good job of connecting with. One was the war theme. Oh, the other was it did still keep it in like an arcadey aspect with the guys and the score and the...
Right.
You know what I mean? You could see the game.
Right.
Like, and until you got used to the rest of the concepts for it, you could play it as, Pac-Man with guns.
Right. Yeah, that stuff was totally, I think, necessary for this game. Not only for the reasons you said, but also, like, I think, like, you spend so much time wandering around, and to send me down a chain of, like, 10 huge rooms and to have nothing at the end, that's a hard sell. But if you throw some treasure in there, I feel like there was a reason for me to go down there, even though, like, me as a player, I don't give a shit about the treasure.
Mm-hmm.
I think those elements are necessary, for this game to stay relevant the whole time you're playing it.
Well, yeah, there's a certain gamification to it. Even if you're getting gold score and it's always going up. Even if you die, you keep your score. You never lose anything from going down it. You feel like something changed, something went up, you made progress, even if you die.
Yep.
That said, like, here's one of the other problems about the death. They should start you at the beginning of each level with the gun you should have for that level. Because if you die and you've already had the chain gun and they're like, okay, well, here's your pistol and 8 bullets. Good luck, asshole.
Right.
Dude, there's SS officers in the first room. What do you want me to do with that?
Right. It's you're set up to fail. Like, yeah. I don't understand why. I guess if you, like, didn't know how to save or something, maybe. But yeah, if you can save, there's really no reason at all for
letting yourself slide.
Yeah.
So
the other thing I wanted to mention was that I really appreciate the sprites in this game.
Mm-hmm.
They're, like, kind of sweetly misguided, though, because you'll be in this yet another gigantic room, and they'll throw a couple, like, pots and pans and tables in there, and you're supposed to be like, oh, okay, I'm in the Nazi kitchen now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing kitchen-y about it. It's just, like, the suggestion of a kitchen. Well, I don't know what's up with the wells, but whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's stone wells. There's oftentimes piles of bones in the kitchens. Like,
yeah, right. They really leaned into it, into the kind of subversive.
Yeah, it's just... It's the kind of it's the kind of game people who grew up listening to hard rock and heavy metal would make in 1992.
Totally. Yep.
Yep. This game needs more bones.
Right. Like let's put some bones in the kitchen. That's messed up.
Yep.
Like, the kitchen. Well, there's a pot in there.
There's barrels.
There's barrels everywhere.
There's barrels everywhere. You know what these barrels don't do?
Yes, because I did the exact same thing that every red-blooded American or citizen of the world would do, and shot them hoping they would explode. They don't.
Not till Doom, baby.
Not till
Doom is your first exploding barrels. No, that's not true. There are barrels that explode in games before Doom, but Doom basically popularized it, because...
Yeah. I think there's an intense history out there of barrels in video games that someone did that was pretty interesting.
I want to say it's Retro Ahoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look it up. Their channel's probably better than ours.
Their channel's way better than ours. I bet they do reviews too.
Probably. Some deep dive shit.
Don't have an annoying laugh.
Oh, man.
Know how to play video games.
You're so wounded. You're so wounded by our YouTube comments. I worry.
Shit, man. This just cracks me up.
I know, me too.
All right.
I think that's all I got on.
I was gonna say this is kind of. I played it with a controller. Is the only other thing I'd say, and I found that interesting. I couldn't get the button to activate doors to work on the controller for some reason.
Okay.
So what I had to do is lean back in my chair and put my foot on the space bar, and then I
Wow, that's unconventional. I like it.
It worked fine, but I still found myself going back to just pure keyboard. It just
why
not?
You got to just figure out how to make these controls work, because it is jarring coming back. Of all the things coming back to this from modern FPSs, the controls are the hardest to deal with.
Yeah,
I can even handle not mouse looking up and down. That's fine. I get it.
Right.
But having that disconnect between look and strafe was just weird.
I want to just talk about this level real quick. First off, they show the outside, which I think is awesome. But this room here with all the screaming Hitler faces, I know Hitler was full of himself, but do you think anyone would decorate like that?
Probably not. But maybe I would.
Maybe you would. The Matt Herrick experience, just your giant head.
My Big Brother head on every wall.
And you're gonna put it in the foyer 18 times.
Yep. What should I put on this wall? How about another picture of me?
Three pictures of my own head screaming.
Yeah. And on this wall, same thing.
Keep
do
going.
it again. Just wrap the whole house. Let's do it. Yeah. Good point.
All right. So let's do this. Our long game that we're still playing, Darklands.
This is our first 2-monther in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Needed 2 months.
Definitely.
I thought it was good. I mean, we're still playing, so we'll talk more when we get there. Needed 2 months is what I will say.
Yeah.
So happy with that.
We're in a Germanic period in our YouTube channel, though, aren't we?
Germanic and 1992, both.
Oh. Interesting.
And then our next short game, going way back, is Beachhead. I genuinely don't know where Matt's going to land on this.
You played this, right?
I have played this. I'm going to actually sit down and play it seriously this time, and that means I don't know where I'm going to land on this.
All right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Great cover.
Yep.
pretty good.
And then, of course, on Thursday, more Deathlord.
Deathlord episode 18 will be on Thursday. Wow.
How many hours have we put in this? Almost 40 hours so far.
Yeah.
So.
And I felt every one of them. I got to be honest. I love it. I love Deathlord. But man, it's a thing.
It's a thing. I'm looking forward to getting us to the end. And when we finish Deathlord, we will do one of these for it, just to kind of end cap it.
It'll be 6 hours long.
Put it back on a shelf.
Yep.
Yeah, it might be a long one. I expect it'll be a long one.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah.
All right. Anything else for all our COVID inmates?
No, just take care of yourselves. Be kind to your neighbors.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah.
Keep safe. Always keep safe.
Yep. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Big thank you to all of you watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, suggesting games, commenting on our videos, or supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all of your support and look forward to sharing many more videos with you. Thank you again.